Because the first two on the quiz was asking you to find the line that is parallel to the given line and passes through the given point. If two lines are parallel, they do what? Well, what makes two lines parallel? They will never intersect or cross, right? So if they're never intersecting or never crossing, that means they're kind of going in the same direction at the same amount. So the slopes would be the what? Same. The slopes will be the same. So really, if I'm wanting to find the new equation, it's going to come, the final form is going to come in the form of y equals mx plus b. That's going to be the equation of the line that we're going to finish with. Now, really, we need the slope and y-intercept, because if we can find that, we'll get to our equation. Now, the main equation that we used was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, because this is the equation we used to get to the form that we wanted. Is x1 and y1, well, that's just a what? Point, because this is point slope form. Well, do I have a point to find the equation? Well, yeah, 6, negative 4. It always comes in the form of x comma y. So that means the y value that I'm going to plug in is negative 4. The x value that I'm going to plug in is now we said the slopes were the same since we're looking for the line parallel, yes? So the slope for our new line would be what? Negative 2/3. It's going to be the same as the line that was given. Well, now we need to get it into what? Y equals, we just need to get y by itself, yes? Well, at this point here, you'd already gotten points. Because again, one of the things that I associated, or at least grading-wise, I gave you a point if you were able to get the slope right. So on some of your tests, if you have the slope circled and you have the right slope, I gave you a point for that. Here, when we go to solve, the negative and negative would make a positive. On the right-hand side, we do have a number being multiplied by a set of parentheses. So we need to do what? We need to multiply through. Well, negative 2/3 times x is negative 2/3. Negative 2/3 times negative 6. A negative times a negative is a positive. So we know this is plus. And the 2/3 times 6, I mean, we could do that in a calculator. We don't have to do that by hand. Well, do we have y by itself? No. What do we need to do? Over here, 4 minus 4 is 0, leaving us with just y equals negative 2/3 x. 4 minus 4 is and that's it. So really, what did I use from the original equation that they gave us? What did we take? The slope. Did I really care about the rest of the formula? No, the only thing we're really focused with is the formula given is the slope. I'm just taking it. Every other part of it really doesn't matter as long as I can get the slope. Any other questions on this here? Find the line parallel to the given line and passes through the given point. Well, parallel means the slopes are the what? Same. So the new slope would be negative 7. Do we have a point? Well, yeah. Because if it's parallel, the slopes will be the same. And we can use point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Both of these problems, these first two, were worth 5 points. Doing it, this right here, I would count as working the problem. gives you 2 points for this here. You identified the slope, yes? 3, it's worth a total of how many? 5. You just got 3 out of the 5 points. We just need to get the equation, and then we're done. Well, we know that the point is -3, 2. Well, the y value of the point is? The slope is x minus -3. Well, here a negative and negative make a positive. What else do we need to do? Distribute the -7. Y minus 2 is equal to -7 times x is -7 x. -7 times +3 is -21, because a negative times a positive is a negative. 7 times 3 is 21. And then, because again, we do need to get the y by itself. -7x, -21 plus 2 is. So on all of these here, we're going to get an equation, y equals. Now, we're not going to deal with, I'm not going to throw in the trickier case where they say, well, the equation of the line is y equals 7, find the line parallel to it. Well, really, any line, it would be y equals. Because y equals is a flat line, so it's just going to be another flat line. Or x equals, puts us a line straight up and down. So it would just be whatever the point's x value is, x equals that amount. Or perpendicular, so for if it's x equals, the perpendicular line would be y equals. We're just going to look at these here. Any questions on any of this here? Okay. Do perpendicular lines have the same slope? No, because perpendicular means that they're going to intersect at a what? Right angle. Now there is a trick with the slopes that we can actually figure out. Y'all remember? Reciprocal, opposite reciprocal. We change the sign and flip it. We change the sign and flip it. So what's the original slope? -7/4, yes? Well, if we change it, it was negative, it's now positive. Flip it. There's 1 point. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Are we given a point? 0.5, yes? The y value is? The slope is times x minus Interestingly enough, on this one, it actually works out. Even if you have the wrong slope, you'll still get the correct y-intercept because of the 0. Because we don't have any negative negatives, but when we multiply through, this will still be y minus 5 equals 4/7 times x. 4/7 x. Anybody notice that when we do that in multiplication, it still ends up being the slope times x? It'll work out that way every single time. What is 4/7 times -0? It's just 0. Do I need to put anything there? No. We could put +0, but it's going to be the same as if we leave it off. And last but not least, we need to add 5 to both sides, which tells us y is equal to x plus 5. And because of that, the fact that when we multiplied our slope by 0 for that point, it ended up giving us 0, it did still work out that you could have had the wrong slope, but still got the right y-intercept. Any questions on this here? We ready for the next one? Y equals 3x plus 1, and they're giving us a point. So we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, we do need to find the new slope. So we can, if opposite reciprocal helps, awesome, use it. But what are we really doing? Opposite means change, because opposite, because the slope that we're given originally is 3. Because x is a part of the equation, the slope is just the 3. Is it positive or negative? Positive. So if it's the opposite, we have to change it. So negative. Then we what? Flip it. The reciprocal. We flip it. Is there a denominator for 3? 1. It's not written, but there is 1. It is 1. So we could think of it as 3 or 3 over 1. So if we flip it, it becomes 1 over 3. Anytime we flip a whole number, it just becomes 1 over whatever that number is. Now we just plug it in. Y minus negative 12 equals negative 1/3 times x minus 12. Well, here the negative and negative make a positive. Here we can distribute the negative 1/3. Negative 1/3 times x is negative 1/3 x. Negative 1/3 times negative 12. Negative and negative make a? Wasn't I nice to make these all come out as whole numbers? I mean, even if we had them come out as decimals or fractions, the calculator will do it for us. Because we can do it by hand, but it just takes longer. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense if we can do it. Have something else do it for us at this point. And last but not least, we minus 12 from both sides, which tells us y is equal to and that's it. Questions on this here? Was this easier than y'all thought this was? So a lot of this here is just doing each of the individual steps and working it out. Some of it is doing the assignments. I know I give y'all extra time, but if y'all have time to do it, go on and do it, because it's easier if you do it while it's still fresh. It helps build practice. And I threw these on here just to give y'all some points, something that hopefully I felt like y'all had these pretty well. That's why I didn't go more in depth than this. How many sets of corresponding angles should we have? 4. How many alternate interior or alternate exterior? 2. And corresponding or consecutive is also 2. All of these should have 2 except for our corresponding. That's the only one that's going to have 4. And whenever you list these, angle and angle, do them in pairs. Because if you list them out as I had 1 or 2 just list out a whole bunch of angles, the way I will grade it is I'm going to circle the ones that are next to each other, starting from left to right, and consider those pairs and grade it as that. So that may not be to your best benefit. Now, if we look at corresponding angles, well, I'll just start with angle 8. And angle what? 1, because 8 is to the left and above, 1 is to the left and above. Well, let's go 15. And 19. 15 is to the right and above, 19 is to the right and above. 21. 21 is to the left and below, 3 is to the left and below. And lastly, we have 30 and 6. Alternate exterior. Well, exterior means, alternate means opposite, because we have opposite and outside, yes? So 8 is on the outside and 6. Because 8 and 6 are on opposite sides of the transversal and outside the lines. The other one would be alternate interior. 21 and then and last but not least, consecutive interior would be 21 and 1. Consecutive just means continuous, like they're consecutive, they're one after the other. So 21 and 1 are consecutive, they're right next to each other and on the same side. And that's it. Any questions on this here? Yeah, because 8 and 6 and 6 and 8 are still the same. The only spot where I'll start taking off, if you said 8 and 3, 6 and 15, then I'm going to count off. Or if you just did 8, 15, 6, and 3, if you just listed those out, those are technically alternate interior angles. But the way that I would grade it is I'd say, okay, these, no, and go that way. Okay? Because I'm not going to try to sit there and cipher through and try to figure out what your meaning is and just listing those 4 out. Does that make sense? And if you did that and say had goes 3 and 19, then I would actually just count the old Heather section wrong because 8 goes with 3, yes? So since it should be there, this whole pair is technically wrong from the get-go. Does that make sense? But any other questions on this here? Do y'all want to look at more parallel and perpendicular? Find the equation. Because we can do more. I'm going to do more. Here we go. Because I did create a worksheet for that. The review sheet, or the quiz that we just did corrections on, I will want those back from you, just to hang on as records. I hang on to tests for 2 main reasons. One, if you want to do makeup points, well, that you've already done that. I'll put those in and do the makeup points and get it assigned to your paper. But also, if we do lose grades for some reason, not on our end, just on the computer's end, there's a corrupt file, we lose it. Again, tests and quizzes make up a majority of your grade in here. So if I still have all those on file, I can retrieve your grade for the most part. So I want to keep it on hand. Now, okay, we'll do at least 1 or 2 more of each, because we'll hit 1 parallel, 1 perpendicular, and see where we're at, and time-wise. So this here should be one of the first ones on there. So we want to find the equation of a line parallel to the given line, the red line, the one that actually has the equation, and passes through the point O2. So since they're parallel, the slopes are going to be the same. So what's our slope for our new line? And the point we're using is 0, 2. Do we need anything else? Well, no. now we can use our equation y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. The y value of the point is, our new slope, or our slope is 3/2 times x minus 0. We plugged the point in and the slope. Now we just need to get y by itself. We won't do anything with y minus 2 yet. We need to distribute the 3/2. 3/2 times x is 3/2 x. 3/2 times 0 is 0. And last but not least, we can do what? Which tells me y is equal to plus. And that's it. So what kind of equation are we looking for? A line that is parallel. So parallel are the same. They're never going to intersect. So they're going to be the same slope. Now, let's jump to this one here, the first one where they cross, because we're going to jump back and forth so that we do hit one of each. Find the equation of a line that is perpendicular. Because if the slopes are the same, we know they will never cross. They're parallel. So if they're perpendicular, they're going to intersect. So we can't have the same slope. We have to change and flip it. So they told us the slope is 3/2. So if I change it, it's going to change from positive to flip it. Negative 2 over 3. Because 3/2 becomes 2/3, and it goes from positive to negative. They gave us the point as 0, 1. So the y value is, the slope is x minus . So what can we do next? Distribute the 2/3. So we'd have y minus 1 is equal to, we could say plus 0, but we can also leave it off because anything times 0 is 0. What do we do next? And that's it. Any questions on this here? We feel comfortable with this? Okay. We feel comfortable? Okay. So we'll stop it there because there are more on there for y'all to do. But we'll stop it there.